month How to Be a Transformative Principal series. I am excited today to have Trish Wilkinson with me. She is author of The Brain Stages, and you can learn more about her at thebrainstages.com. We're going to be talking about a lot of things today, so you'll get to know her pretty well. Um, First, I just want to talk about um, our method here. We do this How to Be a Transformative Principal webinar series that is looks at each of the 12 different key dispositions and skills you need to be a successful principal. We cover one of them each month. This month we are focused on learning as we get ready to go back to school. Some are already back in school and others are just getting ready to get started. So this is going to be a great conversation with Trish. She's going to talk about it. And if you want to learn more about that, go to jethrojones.com, how to, the number two, be for how to be a transformative principal. So there's the website right there, jethrojones.com/how to be. And with that, let me just pull up the slides from Trish and with one.
And
All right.
here we go.
Here we go. Welcome. Why don't you tell us first why you're doing this school family challenge and what's inspired you to do it?
Well, so I'm actually really excited about this. And the reason is because what I've created is a 5-day school challenge because I feel like COVID schmovid.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are going back to school being, anxious and stressed out that their kids are behind and will they ever be able to catch up? And the teachers are, how am I supposed to catch them up? And, there's all this anxiety and kind of this, this mentality that of stuckness already, even though we're just starting out. And the thing is when we have adversity like this, it's such an incredible opportunity for us to use that adversity to create something amazing. And I
Yeah.
really want to create something amazing. So, what I've done is I've set up a 5-day challenge to bring communities closer, to work all on the same team, to get kids excited about learning and parents excited about what they're learning and that they're going back to school. And, some kids are looking at possibly going back to some online learning because in some areas, COVID scores or whatever numbers have spiked. So there's that nervousness too. And we can get through all of that. And one of the things I want to show people is how to use this opportunity to create great school communities as well as boost kids' brain power. Because the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing with brain stages was I did a lot of things. So I was a teacher for decades and I thought raising kids would be easy. And it turned out I had a couple of kids who had challenges. Thanks God. I had a couple of
Really?
kids who had challenges. Yes. And so basically what happened was my older daughter and I had a terrible falling out at when she was 7 years old. My husband was out of town. I'd had it up to here and we just got into this terrible row. And I thought, I have to figure out how to get it together with her. And so I did all this research and tried everything I could find and, talked to experts. And anyway, I came up with all these tips and tools to do things. And I found out why a lot of the things worked in my classroom when I wrote Brain Stages because so much new research has come out, which is really exciting. So if you want to go to that slide that has the 5 things, so the 5 school-wide challenge for incredible year is the first day we would talk is to talk about how 10 minutes of exercise makes a huge difference in kids learning because the thing that happens is kids come to school and their brains aren't ready to learn. They come to school, they're sleepy, maybe they haven't had a great breakfast, they're dehydrated, their brains just aren't set up for learning. So the idea is to set up the brains for learning. And a lot of people say, but exercise in the morning, Trish, I don't have time to do that. But I tell them, in fact, I have a text from my older daughter that said, thank you, Mom, for teaching me how to slow down so I can speed up. I have so many friends that have a hard time doing that. And I save so much time in life by slowing down to speed up. And people used to ask me all the time in my own classroom, I used to get great scores all the time, and I've taught all the grades, and people are like, oh, you must be such a great teacher. But really, it was more that I had my kids do 10 minutes of exercise in the morning and get a big drink of water before we'd start school, and everybody was ready to learn. Their moods were better, they were awake, they were just ready to go. Because what happens is with dehydration, we all wake up dehydrated. Whether we realize it or not, that's part of what breakfast is for. And a lot of times kids only drink fruit juice, which gives them a sugar rush and they're crash. So they look like they have energy when parents send them out the door. And then by the time they get into the classroom, they've got that sugar crash going. So they're half asleep. And the bottom line is, or the idea is, so the first day, kids would do 10 minutes of exercise and get a big drink of water. And that way, because when kids don't drink water in the morning, it's kind of like riding a bike on flat tires. You can do it, but it doesn't work very well because
Yes.
our brains are 73% water. So if we don't have enough water, all the chemical reactions, all the connectivity, all the chemicals and electricity that's going on in our brains is sloggy. And it used to just blow me away when we would miss our workout in the morning and it was just 10 minutes. We'd run or jump rope or dance for 10 minutes or play a raucous game of head and shoulders, knees and toes, or, just whatever, kickboxing. One day we did kickboxing. All these different things that we would do. And a lot of times I would let the kids choose. But it turns out that these Canadian researchers of just a few years ago discovered, I think it was 2017 or hang on, let me look. They discovered that just 10 minutes of exercise was kind of the magic number. Um, I can't see the name, but maybe the year doesn't matter. It was just in the last couple of years that they figured this out. And so they figured out not only that, but BDNF, this chemical in our brain, also is produced when we do exercise. So it actually causes cell division in the hippocampus, which is the long term, big shot in the brain for learning because it's long term memory. So, and movement, the caudate nucleus is short term memory, is right next to the hippocampus, and the whole brain works together. So, it actually helps the brain transfer what kids learn in short term memory to long term memory. I didn't know all this all at the time. I just knew that when we would miss our workout because we'd have an assembly or something in the morning, and then I wouldn't slow down to speed up. So after the assembly, I wouldn't do that 10 minutes. I thought I can't lose any more time. And the kids would be so much sloggier. I didn't get nearly the production out of them, nearly the thinking and participation and all the things that I usually got in my classroom without that exercise and drink water in the morning. So just huge difference. So the first day of the challenge would be for schools to do exercise and get a drink of water in the morning. And if you do it all as a school, you won't believe the difference in morale because it makes everyone feel better,
Hmm.
honestly. And so these Canadian researchers found out you only need 10 minutes. And if teachers can do that with kids, like just kind of jog around or walk around the school or whatever you do for that exercise, it makes them feel better too, because it's how our brains work. And then the second day, work on working memory. And working memory is short term memory. And a lot of studies have come out, especially they did a lot of studies in the UK. A lot of studies have come out that have said working memory, which is short term memory, is more indicative of how well kids do in school than IQ.
Hmm.
And the exciting thing about working memory is that we can increase working memory in kids by the end of the week if we do this a couple of working memory games where kids have to remember things in short-term memory. By the end of the week, we can increase their working memory by about 20%, and the end of 2 weeks by about 30%, which is huge. It's especially amazing for at-risk kids. And at first I was reading articles that would say working memory, improving working memory doesn't work. But then we found that it does work if you do it in a certain way, and that's in using multiple senses. So, like, I have a game called Add a Move where you make a move and the kids make a move. You do it together, and then you pick somebody else to make a move. So they make a move, and then somebody else makes another move. So, and when you're using multiple senses and they're having to remember in a sequence, then those kinds of games actually increase working memory. So kids' working memory improves. And it's and there's a lot more technical things to it. But the other really exciting thing about that is playing games like that with kids after you've run, had a drink of water, and you play games. You never know what went on with kids at home, right? So when kids are at home, they come to school, they could have had an argument with a sibling or could have tripped over the dog, or who knows what's going on with kids at home. Sometimes there's somebody sick in the family and that we don't know about. All kinds of things happen and they're anxious. And right now with COVID, they're anxious because a lot of kids know they're behind in school and they don't know how they're going to catch up. And they're worried, and their parents are worried, and the teachers are like, how am I supposed to do this? But if we boost kids' brain power and we get them excited about learning on top of that, imagine what we can do. And if we get everybody working together, parents and teachers and kids working together with an attitude of we can do this, can you imagine what we can do as a community? Just amazing. And then the next day we would so the first day, the action step is running or exercise for 10 minutes and drinking water. Second day is continue to exercise, drink water, and play a working memory game, which only takes a couple minutes. And then the next day is to talk to kids about bedtime routine, because there are all kinds of studies that are coming up that kids who have a regular bedtime routine, and the kids come up with it on their own, you can brainstorm a little bit, and then have the kids write down what kind of bedroom routine they have. If you're teaching little teeny kids, they can draw pictures, and then parents talk about it and sign off on it and bring it back to school, just so that everybody's focused and thinking about a bedtime routine. And that goes for adults too. A lot of times we do that for kids. We make sure they have a bedtime routine, and then we don't get our own bodies into bed
Mhm.
because we feel like, we don't need as much sleep, and we do need sleep. In fact, the studies are showing that Alzheimer's and dementia are connected to not getting enough sleep for extended periods of time, because that's how plaque builds up on the brain. Because when we don't sleep, we don't get into those very slow brain waves that actually clean out the gunk in our brains. So sleep is important for all of us. And we know how we feel with sleep, right? We know that we feel better doesn't sleep sometimes feel like the magic elixir? And if you have a child, or yourself have a hard time getting to sleep, go to thebrainstages.com. There's a surefire tips blog, and look up sleep, and you'll find all kinds of ways to help kids sleep as well as to help you sleep. And some of them will surprise you, and they really work, because I definitely had a kid who had a hard time sleeping.
Yeah.
And uh-huh. And the next one is setting learning goals for the year. Oh my gosh, that makes such a difference, because kids have direction and they have buy in for where they're going, and they're clear on where they want to go. So, having kids set learning goals at home, at school, but ideally they set the learning goals at school, and the teachers talk about what they're supposed to learn that year. They take it home to their parents, they talk about to their parents about it, and the parents sign off on it. And you'd be amazed. I used to work in East LA in California, and you would be amazed how much parents will do these things with you because they don't necessarily know how to help. But if we show them a specific way how to help, a lot of times I used to get a lot of participation for stuff like this in East LA. And that's another thing I wanted to say about working memory. When you have kids who are at risk, a lot of times they have more difficulty with their working memory than kids from upper middle class families, for example. And when
Mhm.
we boost working memory, we boost kids' learning, which is really cool. So learning goals. And then the last thing is downtime and unstructured play. And no, video games don't count. Anything on the
Oh,
video
come on.
doesn't count. And I'm not even anti-video. In fact, one of the slides we're going to show you at the end is a free screen time mini course. It's just one video because it shows the positive way to look at screen time and how to set up screen time so it actually boosts your kid's brain power instead of causing harm in various different ways or causing harm to their eyesight or whatever. So it actually shows you how to make screen time, and it's all backed up by science and experience. Everything is kid tested and
Mhm.
also research supported. I don't tell people anything that I haven't really vetted. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
but downtime, we need downtime to process what we learn. And if we get downtime to process what we learn, then information actually gets planted into our brains from short-term to long-term memory and in different areas of the brain so that kids can not only learn what they learn, but apply what they learn. And that really requires a certain amount of brainstorming. What can you do for downtime? What periods do you think you can just relax and just play pretend or, you know, read a book or take a walk or, whatever you're going to do for your downtime? What times can you do that? So brainstorming what kids can do for downtime as well as when they can do it and show it to their parents as part of the assignment and get their parents to sign off on it.
Mhm.
Because that way we're all on the same team. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. So teachers, administrators, parents, kids, everybody's on the same page. And now we're working as a team because I feel like a lot of times what happens, there are a lot of frustrations because everybody has their own stresses. Does that make sense? Like the teachers, I was a teacher for a long time. We have our own stresses, right? We
Yeah.
feel responsible to these kids and we feel like we're just expected to do more and more and more and more, and we're not sure how we're going to get it all done. But this is a way to support teachers in creating this year to be a phenomenal banner, most successful year yet kind of year.
Yeah. So tell us about when this 5-day challenge is going to start and what it includes.
So here's the thing. I made this chart so that if people want to do it on their own, they can print the screen. Or if you want to go to the and print the screen, do it on your own, or you can join me live. And this screen is smaller than I realized it was going to be, but you can join me live and I'm going to do this for free for schools. Well, for schools, for parents, for anyone who wants to do it. It's 15 minutes. 15 minutes is nothing. It's 15 minutes for me to introduce it, give the information, and then assign the action step. And then the action step won't take any longer than 15 more minutes. So it's about a half an hour investment of your time that will make for 5 days, that will make a huge difference in your life. Will not only save you hundreds of hours over the school year, but it will also make the hours that you do put in just fabulously more successful. And
Yeah.
and I'm saying this from experience. But I
Well, and I
go
put
ahead.
in the chat there the link to sign up for that. And this is where I think that doing something as a community with other people who are doing something similar, even if they're not connected to you physically, but being in the same headspace of let's do this together, this will be a really powerful way for people to get together with other schools across the country and make a plan for what they're going to do and how they're going to be successful. So I think that this is a really good opportunity to get these connections built and to feel like you're doing something together, which is really powerful also.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, because what we know is when we collaborate and work together, things happen. It's really
Hmm.
hard to do things when we're all trying to pull a separate cart. But when we
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of people pulling the same cart, It makes an entire difference.
Yeah, it
Does
really
that make
does.
sense? I mean, I can't even believe the difference. And sometimes people go, "Oh, collaboration," and then you, then you have to coordinate all these people. But here's the thing: I don't know how well you can read this, but so I'm going to read what I would do. You register for the challenge. I'll have a planning meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time on September 8th, and of course the recording will be available. But if you're present, if you have someone at your school present, or if you're a parent and you want to do this at your school, or you just want to do it for your kids, no matter who is watching this, you can do this challenge with us. And we're going to have a planning meeting on September 8th for an hour so that you know exactly what's going to happen. But here's the thing: if you do this with me from the 20th to the 24th, I'm going to do all the work for you. Does
Bonus,
that,
bonus.
yeah. Well, not just a bonus, it really makes the difference because a lot of people will think, oh my gosh, this sounds like a great idea, but it sounds exhausting. And how are we ever going to do it? And I'm already maxed out. Anyone out there feel like that?
Yeah.
Right? But I'm going to do all the work. So what's going to happen is um, I will give the recording online. That'll be about 15 minutes. It'll be on Zoom. So, and everybody can join me, parents, kids, and teachers. And if you play it in class, if teachers play it in classrooms or you do it in auditorium first thing in the morning at school, however you want to do it. But if you have everybody watching this thing for 15 minutes, if it's possible, although you will get the recording, but live is better because you can ask your questions and we can do kind of the rah rah thing together to really build enthusiasm. So let's see. So everybody can join me live, and then I'm providing the charts to track participation so that we keep everyone accountable. Does that make sense? Like we'll have classroom charts. And do you want to show the
Hmm.
next one real quick?
Yep.
So the charts are already made and they're in color because I wanted it to be pretty, but I'm going to just send a school-wide chart where you can keep track of everybody's participation. And teachers, you don't have to be the one to do it because you have kids. Most of you either have kids who are old enough in your school that can do this and they will love to keep track of what's going on in the school, or you have volunteer parents, somebody who is willing to keep the scores or whatever. Because if you hold everybody accountable and you do this as a team, it will become a team effort. Does that make sense?
Yep, for
So
sure.
so the charts have already been made and I made them in color. The only one that's actually in color is the whole school chart. The other two are actually in black and white, so you can make copies for all the classrooms and grade levels. So there are three charts there, one to keep track of what's going on per grade level. So everybody can kind of keep track of what's going on in each classroom and rah rah, our kids are doing it, your kids are doing it kind of thing. And then there's one for the whole school, and then there's one for each classroom. So the one for each classroom and for grade level, those will be in black and white because schools will need to make copies. But I will even send you the master copies. You don't even have to like print it out if you don't want to. And I'll also send you a PDF if that's easier because different schools do things differently. But I'll send you hard copies and a PDF so that you can print enough copies of the charts for as many classrooms as you have and as many students as you have in each classroom. So can you go back to the other slide, the previous slide?
There you go.
Okay, so you'll have and then you'll have worksheets for three of the action steps, um, which will be the bedtime routine, and I lost my train of thought and I don't have it in front of me anymore. The bedtime routine, the um,
Learning
thank you,
goals,
learning goals for the
unstructured
year,
play.
and downtime and unstructured play. You'll have forms for all three of those things that kids can fill out, take home, have their parents sign, and come back, and I'll provide that. Um, and then daily emails for staff and parents. I'm going to write all that too. So all you have to do
Great.
is just hit send. So I will do that. And I love to write. I mean, I wrote a book, I coach other authors. Writing is kind of my wheelhouse. It's something I love to do. So I'm going to do all the um, emails. And then I'm going to give you simple pre-assessments for, how kids feel like they're doing, what their anxiety level is, what kind of possibility they see. And you will already have the pre-test for finding out where your kids are starting the year. And then I'm going to also send you a post test, a post assessment of how the kids are feeling at the end of this thing. And I would love for you to send those to me. And anybody who sends those to me, you'll get a certificate of completion for the 5-day course. The top 10 schools will get framed certificates, and then everyone who participates will also get certificates and
Cool.
of achievement. So I'm going to do that. But the other thing that will be really fun is I'm going to write an elegant bragging email for you to be able to send to the local news outlets in your, like the local TV stations and the local newspapers, where most of them are online now, but you know what I'm talking about because most people get their
Yep.
news online now. um, but I'll send emails so that and they're always looking for material, right? And they would love to have something positive that, wow, we're doing this. So I'll have an email, wow, we're doing this 5-day challenge. So there will be a pre and a post challenge email that you can send to news outlets as well as to your school boards to
Yes.
let them know what you're
Always,
doing too. Because
always good to let the school board know what's going on.
especially when it's positive, because we've
Yes.
heard so much negative through this whole COVID thing. But a lot of times, adversity is the opportunity for us to be able to create something amazing out of nothing, creating beauty from the ashes, as they say.
Yeah. And before we get on to the free gift that you mentioned, what can people outside the United States participate in this? Maria Irene is asking because she's from Portugal.
Absolutely. So, Maureen, I don't know how far ahead. What time is it in where you live? Because in fact, I started to write a message back to you and then I didn't. That would be awesome. Okay. See, I put thanks, Maria. That would be awesome. I would love for you to participate. I don't know how many hours you are ahead, but we will definitely have all of the recordings. So you can use the recordings and do the same thing. And then you can communicate with me separately. You would be getting emails. So you could communicate with me separately and I can answer your questions and do whatever you need. I mean, I've done all kinds of workshops and presentations and all kinds of things for all over the world now because that's part of
Yeah.
what's happened with this, India, Switzerland, Canada, all over the place because that's kind of what's happened in our world. So I would
Yeah.
love for Portugal to participate. Absolutely.
And Maria, you're in a great place where you can have some real opportunities to help the schools that you already know and work with for you to just take this on for them and tell them what they need to do. And that would be pretty awesome. So if you want to do that, definitely click that link up above that I already sent. And finally, just as we wrap up, here is a free gift for everybody who attended today. Do you want to talk about that, Trish?
Yes, because people look at screen time like it's evil. And here's the thing, we're not going back to candles to light our homes, right? Screens are here to stay. So, and there are so many positive, wonderful things about screens, right?
Hmm.
So, and there's some things that aren't so positive because in life there's some yin and yang. So, how would you like to know what the science says and specific things about kids' brain power and what's going on and how screens, at least so far as we know, there's a longitudinal study going on right now that's only about halfway through, like 5 or 6 years into it, and it's a 10-year study. So far, so what this screen time video, it's a mini course. It usually retails for $19, but if you use Smart Screen Time 2021, if you use that coupon code, you can get it for free. and find out what the science says and actually figure out how to make screen time a positive thing for kids. What's safe for kids? What is to their advantage? How can they use screen time as a good thing in their lives instead of, worrying about what's going to happen to them if they have too much of it or they're not doing the right things or, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, this is awesome, and most importantly, this challenge is available to schools that want to participate for free. It's not even going to cost them anything.
I want to make this world a better place. And this is such a great opportunity. I'm so excited because adversity is terrible when you're going through it, but what a great opportunity to create something amazing, to create an amazing school community and boost kids' brain power at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a reminder, in the chat is the link to get there, the school community challenge link. And thank you everybody for being here today. I appreciate everybody's participation and your attendance. So, thank you, and thank you to Trish for setting up this awesome program. And I'll be continuing to push information about this out over the next several weeks until September 20th, because it's just a great opportunity to get your mindset in the right place. So thank you again, Trish, for being here.
Well, and thanks so much for having me and providing this platform for me to get the word out.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again. All right, everybody. We will see you next month on September 24th. Thank you for being here. Bye bye now.